While plenty of people use the terms living room and family room more or less interchangeably, they are actually not the same thing. Larger homes sometimes even have both, and it comes down to how you use the space.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Welcome to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. Kind of got a fun one today, just something kind of silly. It is a question that I got quite often when I was training, and I'm currently training, I guess. So I guess I get this question even now. And I don't know, something fun to kind of look at and find out what the difference is between a living room and a family room. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by a great company, the ANow software company. ANow, of course, is how I manage and take care of everything that happens in my appraisal office, from my appraisal clients to my appraisals to my appraisal business. anow.com/coach, anow.com/coach. All right, folks, I'm going to use a very official website today. And of course, I'm being very sarcastic, if you did not notice in my tone of voice. I brought up something to my kids the other day. I have to tell you a little side story about official websites. Brought up something with my kids the other day. It was something I had heard on a podcast. I listen quite often to the Stuff You Should Know podcast. Love it. Learn a lot. I love the dynamics of the two individuals on there. And anyway, they were talking about the fact, and it actually was just an aside. It wasn't even the podcast itself. But it was something to the effect of the England, Great Britain accent. When you think of the accent, the English that is spoken in Great Britain. And they were saying that that's actually a development that in the beginning, they actually spoke English very similar to American English. And that has actually changed for them to become more sophisticated and blah, 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 blah. And I was sharing this with my kids and my wife, and they were like, yeah, bullcrap. Calling me on it. And I said, okay, I'm going to figure it out. So I started doing all this research and Googling these things. And I said, aha, here it is. And I shared with them an article about basically supporting what I had heard on the podcast. By the way, keep in mind, I know nothing about this, right? I listened to it on podcast. I start making an argument to my wife and kids, and now I've got to prove that I'm right. And I jump on there and I read this article, and they said, yeah, okay, where did that come from? And I was embarrassed to admit it came from a website called curiosity.com. So now anytime I say anything, this is several months ago, by the way, anytime I say anything that might be a little outside the norm, my kids or my wife will look at me and kind of raise one eyebrow and say, where did you get that, Dad? Curiosity.com. All right, so the information from today comes from a website, elledecor.com. That's ELLEDECOR.com. Okay. The article is from January 2018, and the article is called Living Room versus Family Room. Is there a difference? Well, folks, I want to pause here before I get into this article and remind you that there is a difference when it comes to managing your appraisal business. How are you doing it right now? If you're anything like me, I was using Excel for a very long time to keep track of my orders. I switched over to Google Sheets, which is very similar, by the way. But every time I worked on my business and not in my business, I spent, half hour crunching numbers and putting them in a format that I could even read. Gee, how many manufactured homes did we do this year? Gee, how many appraisals have we done this month? How does that compare to September last year, right? All of these things had to be manipulated in the spreadsheets. How would you like to speed up that process by just clicking a couple of buttons? ANow will do that for you so that you can focus on what's going on in your appraisal business rather than wasting time punching in numbers. anow.com is where it's at. anow.com/coach. All right, folks, I'm not going to read this whole article to you. We're talking today about the difference between a living room and a family room, okay? And the article comes from elladecor.com, and it is titled Living Room versus Family Room, and it was printed on January 9th, 2018. I do want to share a couple of tidbits here, because the question comes up, what is a family room? What is a living room? How do we know the difference? Does it matter? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. One of the things that the article says is, while plenty of people use the terms living room and family room more or less interchangeably, they are actually not the same thing. Larger homes sometimes even have both, and it comes down to how you use the space. Now, raise of hands. How many of you in your areas it's very common to have both a living room and a family room? I'm raising my hand. Very common. In fact, I would say more than 50% of the houses that I go into have both a living room and a family room. Well, here's the question that comes from my trainees when we're walking through a house. And I'm leaning over their shoulder and saying, okay, put the living room there. Well, wait a second, aren't we in a family room? And then they'll look at me and they'll turn to me and they say, Dustin, what's the difference? Well, let's talk about it, okay? Along with the kitchen, the living room is the main common space for most family homes. But the exact nature of how to use it has been a mystery for a long time. Okay, according to Joan DeJean, I have no idea who that is, writing for the New York Times, living rooms starting out as formal display spaces for welcoming guests in the 1700s. Okay, now notice that word, formal display spaces. Okay, the living room is totally relaxed, but in other, especially large homes with multiple common areas, the living room retains its more formal underpinnings. Okay, so I want you to think about that. And this, by the way, this is how I approach it with my trainees as well. The living room is very formal. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the family room. The family room serves a similar function, according to this article, in the home to a living room. It's gathering place for everyone to convene and relax together at the end of the day. That said, there are some differences. Here we go. Ready? Family rooms are more relaxed spaces and tend to be more kid-friendly. It is also a newer concept, by the way, that dates to the mid-century. Okay. Now they go through and they quote different things about the history and the development of the family room and the living room. And then the question is there really a difference? Again, quoting from the article, at the end of the day, it's up to the individual to define what a living room or a family room really is for their household. Got lots of space and need to clarify what's what? Well, use both labels to denote how formal the room is. But if you live in a smaller space with one main gathering room, call it whatever you like. Life is short and the living room should be for living. Okay, so the gist of it, folks, is this. In general, a living room is going to be more formal. Okay? Think of the room that you come maybe off the side to the door, the opening door, the small room with couches facing each other, maybe a visiting room. Some would call it a parlor. Okay, the opportunity to entertain guests, more of a visitation type room. And then maybe in the back of the house, a room that has the TV, has the kids' toys out, a little bit less formal. I see that as a family room. In fact, I tell my trainees, okay, and this is, again, my opinion. It goes no more than that. I didn't get this from curiosity.com. It's just Dustin Harris being curious. I say, listen, if there's only one room, it's a living room. If there's two rooms, take the more formal one and call it a living room, and the less formal one and call it a family room. And if you get confused, whichever one is closest to the back of the house, call that the family room. There you go. Folks, if you want other great tips about how to be a great appraiser, I hope you'll join my All-Star team. Folks, it's so fun to be a part of the All-Star team. Every single day, multiple times a day, people reach out to me from the All-Star team, ask me questions, give me suggestions, give me feedback, need feedback on their business and how to improve and do better. And then we, of course, have the closed secret Facebook group online where you will never hear negative in that group. You just won't. I'll take you to the woodshed if you ever do. It's a positive group of appraisers helping appraisers. Hope you'll join us. You can find out more by going to my website, theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
As I was preparing this episode, I thought to myself, in fact, I actually wrote it down. I was writing the description for the episode, and I wrote living room, and I wrote it as one word. Living room is one word, and I got that stupid red squiggle that I had misspelled it. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, how did I misspell that? And then I put a space in between the living and the room, and all of a sudden it disappeared. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Living room is spelled as two words, but bathroom and bedroom, I don't know about you, but those are one word. In fact, if you type them into Word, for example, or Google, you don't get that crazy squiggly red line at the bottom. Why is that? So I looked it up. Now, no, I didn't get this from curiosity.com. I got this from the bbc.co.uk. And let me just read to you. They're talking about compound words, okay? And they said there are two rules that can help, or maybe I should call these generalizations rather than rules. Let's look at some words that are compound and written as one word. Blackbird, whiteboard, bathroom, skateboard, greenhouse. Observe how many syllables they have. They have two syllables, right? Skateboard, greenhouse. On the other hand, compounds where one of the words has more than one syllables are normally written with a hyphen or as two separate words. So bathroom is one word, but living room is written as two words. And now you know.